Vincent Carroll speaking. This is tutorial number 39, fertility. To be more precise, this is just an introduction to fertility because fertility is such a huge area that will take certainly more than one video to anyway comprehensively cover it. Fertility, my first observation is it's emotionally fraught for a lot of people, so incredible sensitivity is needed in dealing with the whole area of fertility. We can only do our level best. Sometimes our best doesn't work out in the way we would all wish it to be, but we do our best. And compared from a Western medical point of view, I think what we have to offer in acupuncture is probably a service that is, dare I say it, superior to what might be offered from a Western medical point of view, and certainly much more cost effective. From a Western medical point of view, when somebody presents to you, how do you define fertility? Clearly, if people have been attempting for a baby, maybe perhaps for 2 years and nothing happening in the absence of other reasons. Again, I keep saying these windows of opportunity when the person might be going through a fertile phase need to be sort of availed of. If these windows of opportunity are not availed of, you can't expect a miracle, obviously. So you first of all just take a very gentle case history to determine that everything seems right and everything seems in order, and there's actually a problem from a pathology point of view rather than just something from a timing point of view or a work-related point of view or something else that you probably have no control over except by giving common sense advice. When somebody comes to you, perhaps, and you have determined that certainly a pregnancy under normal circumstances should have occurred, you have to ask yourself, are we talking about pre-evanescence or are we talking about something else? And the something else generally tends to be a deficiency or tends to be a stagnation. It tends to be the excess of stagnation, often a liver chi stagnation in the lower jaw, or it tends to be a deficiency of kidney, even deficiency of spleen. If it's pre-heaven, well, that's a problem because you have to first of all determine that it is pre-heaven. There's two ways of doing that. The first way is it's often very, very obvious. Pre-evanescence can include quite a number of serious genetic type conditions, and it's very unlikely that people will be coming to you seeking a pregnancy from within those conditions. But it can also, certainly according to the textbooks, they speak about in terms of brittle bones and soft teeth and all of that. That's not that easy to find nowadays. If a person has a long history of fillings in the absence of other reasons, but then there are other reasons for most of us in the form of sugar consumption. But if a person has what could be described as soft teeth, that can be a sign of pre-evanescence deficiency. Soft bones and all of that, very, very hard to determine. Most people don't break bones. There are, again, pre-heaven conditions where bones are very vulnerable to breakage. But again, it's very unlikely that they will be coming to you from a fertility point of view. So very often the more serious aspects of pre-evanescence deficiency are quite obscure. Sometimes bedwetting or enuresis into, adulthood or certainly late teens could be a good sign of pre-evanescence being deficient, and again you can sensitively determine that. Very often a person might be slow at school, maybe the person sitting at the back of the class and not making a lot of progress. That may well be an issue associated with pre-evanescence as well. Of course, it can be other things, but can be a pre-evanescence deficiency. So you look for evidence that there is pre-heaven there, and you may well find it, but equally you may well not find it. And the problem there is the only way you will find it is by trying to perhaps help the person achieve a pregnancy and for you not to be succeeding in doing so, despite the fact you've tried everything. So at some point you might have to say, well, look, could this be a pre-evanescence deficiency? And if it is, it clearly presents a separate range of problems than the post-heaven stuff. So post-heaven, what are we talking about? Well, plainly, chi has to be abundant. In achieving a pregnancy, there's a need for an abundance of chi. Certainly a prolonged spleen chi leading perhaps to a spleen yang chi deficiency is something that may make the achieving of a pregnancy very difficult, quite apart from the obvious fact that two people, say a couple who are spleen chi deficiency through hard work and studying and everything else, one must really ask, are the windows of opportunity to avail of a pregnancy being used, for want of a better word? Because as I keep saying, if that doesn't happen, there's not a lot you can do about it. And secondly, if they are, or if they're not being availed from a spleen chi point of view, of course you talk about tonifying spleen, or should we be talking about tonifying kidney? Is it kidney yang chi? Is it kidney yin chi? Many people who come to me who are down to kidney level seeking to achieve a pregnancy are kidney yang chi deficiency, and we've gone down the slippery slope of being spleen chi deficient, spleen yang chi deficient, because the spleen's not transforming fluids, and then they drop down further into the kidney area, which of course includes motivation. So, but yet they've come to see you. So therefore there's got to be some element of motivation, and they want to start a family. So there must be some element of motivation there. But sometimes that can be other people having an expectation for that to occur, and for them to be kidney yang chi deficient. So we ask the questions, about a sense of motivation, a sense of feeling cold, a sense of being totally wiped out. Perhaps they wake up in the morning, even having had a lie-in on a bank holiday or whatever it might be, and they still have exhaustion. So not only is it down past kidney, past spleen yang chi energy, it's down now to kidney yang chi. And again, you have to bring up kidney, and you have to bring up yang, and you have to bring up spleen. So you're talking about huge tonification here, including the use of source points like kidney 3, obviously, and spleen 3, as well as the regular spleen 6, stomach 36, ren 12. Also just take care of the gathering chi. Never any harm in tonifying spleen, lung 9 either. I like putting in moxa into the Ming Men 0.24. I like going 1.5 sung lateral, right side, left side, that's urinary bladder 23, inner back shoe of the kidney. I like going 3 sung, right side, left side, that's urinary bladder 52, outer back shoe point to the kidney, and putting moxa across there to bring up this kidney yang chi deficiency that's interfering with the achieving of a pregnancy. So we're talking there about deficiency. We're rushing through this video, and we're just giving sort of guidance here, nothing more, because as I said, it's a very, very sort of deep subject that will probably require a couple of more videos. But the other thing is, of course, and it's very, very common, perhaps commoner, is the whole concept of liver chi stagnation. When liver chi stagnates in the lower jaw, that's to say the liver's in overdrive and the liver is trapped in the cul-de-sac of the lower jaw. So you will be a bloated feeling, a distended feeling of the abdomen, and the 3 systems down there are likely to be affected. Obviously the gynae system, but also the urinary system and large bowel. So you have to ask the obvious questions: has the person got a sluggish bowel, or has the person got evidence of irritable bowel syndrome? Because all that can be a sign of chi misbehaving and accumulating in the lower jaw. What about the urinary bladder? The purpose of the urinary bladder is to act as a reservoir. It expands to prevent you getting up and struggling down to a bathroom in the middle of the night. So therefore what happens is you are woken up simply because the urinary bladder is only half full, because the chi is pushing down on it. As the urinary bladder expands, it hits chi that should not be there because it is stagnant and it is occupying the lower jaw. So again, that's a sign, of course, of chi in the lower jaw. And finally, any menstrual dysfunction. So for example, delayed periods, long periods, heavy clotted periods, all of that can be a sign of liver invading the lower jaw. And if that happens, it's reasonable to think that perhaps liver is also obstructing pregnancy. And it can again cause problems in the fallopian tube, it can cause problems with ovulation, it can cause problems with implantation of the fertilized ovum on the wall of the uterus, simply because of the excess nature of liver chi being stagnant there. So liver chi moving in the lower jaw is one of the most useful things one can do. What I'm inclined to do, of course, is I'm inclined to move liver 3, gallbladder 34, move liver chi around. But I find the palace of the fetus is a very useful point as well. It's 3 sung lateral to ren number 3. Of course, you have to allow for the natural curvature of the tummy. So I'm inclined to move out a little bit further, maybe even 4, maybe even 5 sung lateral, depending on how raised the dome of the lower jaw or the belly is. And you go lateral appropriately there, and you needle relatively deeply. And that can be a very, very good point to stimulate ovulation, but also to actually regulate the menses as well, because that's equally very important, because it gives the person a greater opportunity to know when their window of opportunity is likely to occur to achieve a pregnancy, of course. But when the liver chi is stagnating downwards, you've got to take a very good history to find out why is it stagnating downwards. I mean, you can obviously move liver chi, but that's for that day or next day, or maybe with a bit of luck a few days onwards. But the person needs insight to know why in their life is their liver chi being stagnant, because they ultimately have to overcome that and maybe put adjustments and give priority to the creation of a family, rather than perhaps striving for promotion or striving for other things in life that might interfere, create liver chi stagnation, because nobody gets everything they're looking for. That causes a sense of entrapment, frustration, in other words, liver chi being stagnant in the lower jiao. So you have to get the liver flowing as best as you can in the lower jiao. So you have to then ask your question, if somebody comes to you from a fertility point of view, is this pre-heaven or is it post-heaven? If it's post-heaven, is it just a wipeout deficiency that you have to tonify, or is it more than that? Is it a liver chi in excess stagnation in the lower, stagnating in the lower jiao? With chaps, that can affect what is politely called ED, in other words, erectile dysfunction, and that's something that should be sensitively inquired into as well. But very often, when liver chi is stagnant, it can prevent the progression of the ovum from the ovary after it blisters from the ovary and is progressing along the fallopian tube. Very often that can cause a delay. Now, equally, the spermatozoa are rising up and doing its own thing, and if it meets the delayed ovum in transit through the fallopian tube, you run risk of an ectopic pregnancy. So that's a serious matter as well. So it's all about moving chi. If you feel there's a chi stagnation, seek a reason. Ask what's the purpose for the chi stagnation. And it might very well be just perceived infertility itself, for the very simple reason that for most people is a very sort of uncertain pathway. It can be a very expensive pathway from a Western medical point of view. I won't use the word a racket, but certainly it's unnecessarily expensive in my own view, and unfair on a couple trying to do what they dearly want to do. So that in itself can create a sense of frustration, a sense of entrapment, and maybe that's the entrapment, and that has to be explained to them, but it could be something else, sort of as they strive to achieve results within their work or within their exams, whatever it might be. So we need to try to find out something that we can offer a common sense bit of advice on. But ultimately, we're talking about tonifying, we're talking about moving, and if it's pre-heaven, well, that's sort of something where all you can do your best is to tonify and move as well. Urinary bladder 32, which is where you needle through the second sacral foramina, is a point that can be used as well. But very often you're down to trying to use as much post-heaven kidney as you can to compensate for pre-heaven kidney that simply is hugely diminished. So we're talking about probably, if it's more a yang deficiency, as it often is, kidney 3 with moxa, or a yin deficiency, a kidney 1 obviously. And I keep saying, if you're going to use moxa, try to use the Ming Men point do 4 and the back shoe points inner and outer of the kidney, right side and left side. Thank you very much.